Hi everyone, we're going to be looking at the free throw tutorial today, which you can find at the arcade.makecode.com. If you scroll down, I've already got it up, but it just appear like this, and it will be the one over here next to Galga. So all you have to do is click on that. We'll open up this screen and press Start Tutorial. And eventually it will start. As you can see, it gives you the instructions up here and also demonstrates what's going to actually happen throughout your tutorial. So if I press next, it will give me more instructions. So it says, from the scene toolbox drawer, which is this, drag a set background image block onto the workspace and drop it into the on start block. Very clear instruction. Drag that under there. In the set background image block, click on the grey oval, which is this, to open the image editor and draw half of a basketball court. So if you're unsure about how you do that, you can click on this thing for a hint, and we'll show you there. It shows you what it looks like and where you're going to click onto there. So in this image here, you can see that it's drawn half a basketball court. So if I open it up, I'm going to use this background, and then I'm going to draw half a basketball court. Obviously, if you're not sure what that looks like, you can Google it, and obviously go to images otherwise, and you can see a very simple one there. So we're just going to draw this square and bit like this part here. See? So we're going to go back over here. It's hot. And the easiest way you can do that is just to draw out the square rather than to try and, oops, maybe not that big. Draw out the square. And as you saw, it was a half circle as well. So we might draw, oopsie daisies. So that starts from the middle. So we might draw it like that. So let me start that again, because I've obviously drawn that a bit too big. So we'll do that. And then from the middle here, make sure it's in the middle. It does it for you, roughly. Mine's not very good, but obviously you can experiment and you can press done. So once you've done that, you've drawn half a basketball court, press next. From the sprite toolbox, drag a set my sprite block and drop it after the set background image block. So if I go to sprites, it's got set my sprite block, and I'll drop it under there. Click on the grey oval to open the sprite image editor and draw or select a gallery image for your player. So you can have whoever you like as a player. You can draw them if you like, but I'm going to select one. See if we can find there was a human before, but you can choose, I guess, any character. I'm going to choose this guy. I think it's a guy. Alright. Then I'm going to press next. Then it says, from the sprites toolbox drawer, drag a set sprite position block and drop after the set sprite block. So after this. So I'll go here, set sprite position, and put it after. Then it says, click on the X coordinate and using the coordinate picker, select the location at the bottom of the screen. So what comes up is this. This is a representation of this screen over here. So I'm going to put him at the bottom, and it just pretty much guides me to where it needs to be. So if I click there, it already sets the coordinates for me. Then I press next. From the sprite toolbox drawer, drag a set my sprite velocity block and drop it after the set my sprite position block. So that's the velocity one. Drag it out, put it underneath. Since we only want the player to move horizontally, set the VY value to be 0. Done. Notice in the game console window that our player actually moves off the screen, as you can see. We don't want that. So from the sprite toolbox drawer, drag a set my sprite stay in screen block and drop it after the set my sprite velocity block. So there's a stay in screen, drag it out. And then in the set my sprite stay in screen block, use the drop down menu to select the property bounce on wall and toggle the value to true. So it's in here, bounce on wall, on. That's the true, on. From the sprite toolbox drawer, drag another set my sprite block and drop after the set my sprite bounce on wall block. So that's if I go to here, set my sprite, and you'll notice that it says set my sprite 2. Click on the grey oval to open the image sprite editor and draw a image of a basketball hoop. So if you're not sure how big you want that, that's the example. So let's open that. I'm going to draw it in black, not in thingo like that. I'm going to remember this is square pixels, so it's going to not necessarily draw the way you want it to. Okay, I've done that. Next, in the set my sprite 2 block, click on player from the kind of drop down menu and add a new kind and type in hoop. So here, call this hoop. Next, from the sprite toolbox drawer, drag a set my sprite position block and drop after the set my sprite 2 block. So I'm going to go set my sprite position and drag it out and go under the set my sprite 2. In the set my sprite position block, click on my sprite and change it to my sprite 2. That means the sprite is essentially a feature of the game. Now, if I go back here, the hoop looks really small. Anyway, so select my sprite 2. That means that these two are referring to the hoop and these are all referring to this guy. Then in the X coordinate, and use the coordinate picker, select a location at the top center of the screen. So if you're unsure as to what they mean, that's what they mean. So you might go here and you click there. Right? Next, from the controller toolbox drawer, drag an on button pressed block into the workspace. Click on the A drop. Okay, let's do that first. So we're going to, that's a separate thingo. Let me zoom out so you can see. If you can't see all your screen, these are zoom out and in buttons. So click on the A drop down menu to select any button. So we're going to go any button pressed, which might make it easier to play the game. From the sprite toolbox drawer, drag a set projectile to projectile from my sprite block. So if we go to sprites, set projectile to projectile something from my sprite. So that's this one here. So we're going to put it in here. I'm going to move across. Click on the grey oval to open the sprite image editor and draw an image of a basketball. Try and use the circle tool in the images. So I'm going to draw a pretty bad basketball. Yeah. Remember, it comes from the middle of the screen. Alright, and then I can fill that in, and then I can draw my lines on it. Now I'm gonna do this properly. There we go. So it's one across. So whoops, one down. This is very rough, as you know. I'm going to try and make it seem round. I go like that, and then like that, and then like that. So it looks like a pixelated basketball. And then if you're unsure, you can have a look at their example. Theirs is a bit more simple than mine. And then next, so we want the basketballs to travel from our player character vertically upwards. And set the projectile block, set the Vx to 0. The Vx is here, to 0. And set the Vy to minus 100. So you can write minus 100. Next, set the sprite toolbox draw. From the sprite toolbox draw, drag on sprite, my sprite overlaps. So go here, on my sprite overlaps, which is this massive thing here, and drag it on there. Click on both the player, kind drop box menus, and change one to projectile and the other to hoop. So we're going to change this to projectile and this to hoop. From the game toolbox draw, drag a game over block and drop into here. So we're going to go here. We're going to put this under here, and we're going to turn this to win. Click on the toggle to win. Now we've done the tutorial. So what you can see straight away is, if you finish, I left the tutorial, that's been annoying. Oh, there we go. You can play your game now. So you can see any button pressed. There you go. Obviously, if I miss it, it just disappears. The aim is to get into the ring. Now the ring's quite small. You can go back and change it, I guess, if you wanted to, and things like that. So you can restart. You can take a screenshot. You can actually record you playing the game. So here you go. I'm recording me playing this game and winning. And then it actually comes out as a GIF. See? And then you can, from here, when you publish it, this is how you can share. So if you then put this in the private comments of the activity, I'll be able to see it. Okay, bye-bye.